Hello, and something a little bit different. I have set my challenge to renovate these Joseph Cheaney shoes, which I bought off Vinted for just 15 British pound. That's right, just 15 British pound. They would have retailed probably originally for well over £400, and Joseph Cheaney are a British brand based in Northampton in the UK, where some of the best shoemakers are based. And it is, I don't know if you can see this, goodwear welted. And if I tap on the sole, it's making quite a nice sound, which means it's in good condition. The leather is in good condition as well, and I've just put a shoe horn in. And obviously when you buy used shoes, you take a chance. These obviously need a good clean up. As you can see, there's a lot of dirt ingrained in the actual shoe itself, but overall you can see the goodwear welted around the edge. The stitching is in very good condition, and the reason I'm doing this is to set myself a challenge to renovate these shoes, because very often our shoes say a lot about us in the actual person. And in order to renovate these shoes, there's a number of products I need, and the first one we're going to use is Saphir saddle soap, and the saddle soap actually cleans the leather of all the dirt. We're then going to use a renovator to rehydrate the leather, a saphir cream to nourish and add some colour back into the shoe, and then I have a saphir polish which protects the shoe from the elements, and lastly we've got some saphir admiral gloss which I will be applying to the toe cap to give it a nice shine. Also as well, I'm using a horsehair brush, and we need some water and some cloths. I'm using a shoe tree to basically maintain the shape of the shoe and also to assist me when I'm going through the various stages. So first of all, we are going to apply our saphir saddle soap, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically work on one shoe, so then that way we can see the difference as we're going through the process in the difference it will actually make, and hopefully we'll end up with a shoe which is remarkably different to when I bought it. But either way, for £15 we can't really go wrong. So let's take some of our water, and I'm just going to put a few squirts onto the water just to damp it down, and then actually I might need a little bit more than that. And if anyone's not seen my channel before, please subscribe. This is a bit different to what I normally do. My channel is normally talking about people with chronic pain, but when we overcome our chronic pain, we can then start to focus on how we perceive ourselves. So what better way than to start with our shoes, because shoes say a lot about the person. So all I'm doing is just going to try and make a laver, is that the word? Laver? Try and build that in, that we can see that there. And then all I'm going to do, yeah, we're getting there. Let's bring it up nicely. And Saphir, by the way, are a French company, and they're regarded as probably the best polishers in the world. There is others as well, but Saphir are generally considered the best. And when we're spending a lot of money on shoes, we do want the best products to maintain them. And it just goes to show you don't have to spend a lot in terms of buying new shoes, and what you can get for your money. I mean, these were only, again, as I said, £15 on vinted, British pounds. So all I'm doing, just going to rub it into the shoe. Let's bring that up to the camera so we can see. So I'm basically just now cleaning the actual leather. Now there's actually two colours of these. There's a white and a yellow, and so I'm told it doesn't matter which you use. I think generally yellow was the preferred, well, the colour of choice, because it's not just shoes you can use this with. You can use it if you've got a horse on a horse's saddle. So I'm just going to need some more. You see, actually see there straight away the dirt I'm picking up from that already. That is quite dirty. But yeah, Joseph Cheaney go back a very long time. I think they go back to 1886. And I think it was in the 1990s they were bought by Church's Shoes. And if you ever get a chance, and I've not been there myself, in Northampton, they have various shoe factories that you can actually go into. And I believe you've got Loke, which is again based there, Church's. Then you've got Crockett and Jones, which are again very high quality goodwear welted shoes. And by goodwear I mean they can actually be resold many times to maintain the shoe. And these are obviously leather, but you can also get day-night soles as well, which is a rubber sole, which is in our climate somewhat better. I mean, you'd only wear these, you wouldn't go out in pouring rain, for instance, here. Well, you could, but you have to make sure they're very dry, because over time it would damage the actual sole of the shoe. I mean, I'm hoping this will actually take out a lot of the dirt, and if it doesn't, there is something up my sleeve. There's another product called Saphir Renovated, which is a bit like a nail varnish remover, which takes off all the existing polish, etc., back to its natural state. I think we're nearly there. Oh, hang on, we've got a little bit more. Yeah. What I should have done is actually remove the laces. It's a bit silly of me, I forgot to do that. So let's take those laces out, and the laces are actually frayed, but that's not a big deal, because laces themselves don't actually cost a lot of money to replace. I think I'm nearly there. Just make sure. Yeah, there we go. So mainly on the tip there, I want to make sure it's nice and clean. I think we're almost there, you know. And then what I'm going to do is let these dry, and then just go over with a cloth just to remove any residue. Yeah, that will do. So I'm just going to let them dry, and then we'll come back. So the saddle soap cleaned up the shoe, but didn't remove any of the built up polish or really ingrained dirt. So my next tool in tackling this to remove the polish is something called Saphir Renovated, which is a bit like a nail varnish, which should remove the built up polish that's built up over time, a bit like a nail varnish remover. And already I've done a little test on the back, and we can see how it has started to remove that built up polish back to its original state when the shoe would have been left the factory, the original dye. Right. So first things first is we're just going to shake the bottle just to activate the solution. And all I've got is a cotton cloth And I'm just going to just wrap my fingers around. There we go. Now we don't need much of this. You must excuse me. It's very windy today. Probably a bit too windy to do this, but very good for drying stuff. Right, so all I'm doing is going to rub the solution in. Really working into that leather, which will help to strip it all off. Now I don't expect you to sit and watch this because it is going to be like watching paint dry. So we'll stop the video and we'll come back when I'm finished. So we're about an hour in. The venom mat has now dried. I did go over it again with some saddle soap just to remove any remnants of that reno mat. And as we can see, it has made a hell of a difference. It has stripped all that existing polish off. We just turn the shoe that's been done on the right to compare it to the one on the left, just from behind. Yeah, we can clearly see a difference there in the two. There we are. Right, so our next step is to apply some of this saphir renovated, which basically rehydrates the leather. And it might take a few coats of this. It did actually take me a good 2 or 3 coats of the Reno mat to try and, you know, remove as much of the actual polish as possible, as you can see. So all I'm going to do is I'm getting basically just a cotton cloth. You can use an old t-shirt or some dusting cloths. And all I'm going to do is just work that into the actual leather to rehydrate it all the way in. Now we don't need loads and loads of this, but enough to really hydrate it, and as it soaks in, and as I said, it probably will take a good 2 or 3 coats of this, because after applying the Reno mat, it does dry out the actual leather of the shoe, so don't be surprised to see that. Now obviously this is all new to me. I've only ever worked on one other shoe before, but I have watched and read up a lot on this subject, and as I said previously, Saphir, which is a French company, are regarded as probably the best shoe polish manufacturer in the world, and they do make a lot of very good products. So I'm really working that in, and once it's all in, all I'm going to do is then I'm going to just let it dry. Sometimes people even just use their fingers to actually just add this in, but I do prefer to use a cloth of some sort. And you can just take an old t-shirt and cut that up, or buy, you know, a Pacific shoe polish cloth. So I'm really working that in, really hydrate that leather. Nearly there. I think we're just about there. So what I'm going to do is just stop the video, let that soak in for a good couple of minutes. Right, so that's now been a good 5 minutes. So all I'm going to do now is get my horsehair shoe brush, which is made of real horsehair, and all I'm going to do is give it a good buff. And this basically will just help the cream I've just applied, the renovated, it's hard to pronounce, isn't it? It'll just help to buff that up And already we can actually see, even just applying that hydration cream, it's already made a difference. It's also worth noting, because I'm going to be using a lighter coloured cream and polish on these shoes, to use a different brush. So, you know, if you use a certain brush for black shoes and then a different brush for lighter coloured polishes, etc. I think we're nearly there. And it just generates some friction, and let's compare them. There we go. So all I'm going to do now is repeat that process probably maybe another 1 or 2 times, purely because the Renomat has took all that moisture out of the shoe and dried it out. Right, so I've now applied another layer of the Renovated to hydrate that leather, and let's just compare the two. This is the one that we haven't worked on. Our next step is to apply a product called Saphir Creme, and the colour I'm going to use is just double check, is Cognac, which is the actual colour Cognac there, number 10, if we can see that. And this will actually give colour to the shoe, and also again hydrate the shoe. And obviously, because surprisingly this shoe is actually a lot lighter than I thought, now I've removed all the existing polish. So for example, we wouldn't want to apply a black polish to a light coloured shoe, but we can apply quite a variety of different shades of polish without actually affecting the shoe, or so Saphir claim. So this is our actual colour. Let's just open the lid, we can see it a little bit better. So what I'm going to do again is just get my cloth, and I'm going to apply this quite sparingly, don't need loads, and then I'm just going to work it into the actual leather. And obviously you don't want to see all of this, so I'm just going to stop the video. Right, okay, so I've now applied 2 layers of the Saphir Creme 1925 cream, and already you can see we're getting a shine to the shoe. The next step is to apply this Saphir polish, which will actually protect the shoe from the elements. So again, all I'm going to do, let's just move that horse hair brush over there. Going to open this up, and this is, by the way, the same colour as the cream, Cognac, and just going to just put it. We don't need much of this. And again, smooth that out of the way. We're just going to apply to the shoe. And work it in. And it normally, Saphir normally say it takes a good 5 to 10 minutes before you can buff it off with the horsehair brush. So I'm going to keep working that in. I'm just going to pause the video again. So I've just waited 5 minutes after applying the Saphir Medal Dior 1925, which is a polish to protect the shoe from the elements. And I'm now going to get my horsehair brush, and again give it a good buff. Now don't be scared of getting this onto the bottom of the shoe here, because it won't actually affect it. I did actually apply a bit of the renovated actually to the sole of the actual shoe as well. Now, if anyone knows any difference, please tell me if that's okay. But I just thought I would give it a little bit of nourishment, the actual leather of the actual sole as well, to hydrate it. But this is all new to me. I am learning. So if I am doing anything wrong, please feel free to ping me a message. So I'm really making sure, working this all in. And already let's compare it with the other shoe, just so we can see the difference. I'm now going to apply another layer as well. So it'll be 2 thin layers. Right, so that's our second layer of the polish. Right, so our next step is going to be to apply some of this saphir mirror shine to the actual toe cap. And this can be a very slow process. So in order to do that, we're going to need some cotton wool and a slight bit of water. Right, so what I'm going to do is I've got some water. I'm going to just spray maybe 2 or 3 drops, sprays of water on my cotton wool. And then all I'm going to do is just put that into the actual mirror shine. And it is quite hard at the moment. Might even need a tad bit more water. Mirror shine apparently is actually a harder substance than the normal saphir medal polish. And then all I'm going to do is just go round in circles, I don't know if you can see that, onto the actual toe cap, working that in. And again, this is quite a laborious process, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off the video and then we'll come back in a little while. Right, so unfortunately I've been trying to get a mirror shine to the toe cap. Been at it for quite a while now, using some cotton wool, a little bit of water, a little bit of the neutral mirror shine. I have used mirror shine on black shoes once before, no problem, but I've really struggled. Now it could be because there's not enough built up on there and it will take a very long time, so I have come to a stop for now. So just to compare the 2 shoes, so this is the one obviously I've not worked on, this is the one I have, but as you can see there is already a really big difference between the 2 shoes. The only thing I'm not quite happy about is the tip. Even though I used the Renomat, removed as much as I could, there's some elements of little bit of darkness and blackness there on the tip. If anyone knows why that is, I would love to know, even though I have used the Renomat. It's a bit of a bugbear, but yeah. So the question is now, what will I do with the shoes? Well, I'm hoping to potentially wear them for now. I have got a wedding coming up in a few months' time, which I'm hoping they'll go well with. I could have potentially used a light tanned shoe cream, but the only problem with the very light shoes is then trying to match it, which is a little bit difficult. Whereas this is a bit more of a neutral kind of a brown, and it's still lighter than the brown originally. What will I do long term? Will I sell them? Well, I paid 15 British pounds for them, which is probably about 20 American dollars. And then obviously a couple of pounds I paid for the postage and the fee. So around about 20 British pounds. If I was to sell these, I would probably put them back on Vinted or eBay for around about maybe £40, 45-ish, maybe even 50 if I'm lucky. In terms of the products I've used, they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. And I'll just quickly run by all the different products in a second. But you have to factor that in as well. However, these products do last a long time, so they do, I guess, pay for themselves over time. So just to recap, these are all the products I've used. So we started off with the Saphir saddle soap, which didn't get rid of all the dirt, ingrained dirt, or the polish, but did help. That was about, I think, 10 British pounds. Then we had the Saphir Renovated, which was very good. It removed all the existing, or a lot of the polish that was already on there. It did take about 2 or 3 coats and a lot of hard work. I think that was, yeah, about £11 that was. Then we had the Saphir Renovated, which was very good at rehydrating the actual leather. I think that was about £6 or £7, very good product. Then we had the Saphir Creme 1925, their higher end product. Again, I think I got that on discount, but it was still even about 15 British pounds, and there's something like 15 different colours you can get it in. Then we had the Saphir, again, high end Medal 1925 polish, which protects the shoes from the elements, etc. Again, not cheap. I think it was about at least 15 British pounds. And then finally we got the Admiral Gloss, which was a little bit disappointing. However, it could be because I need to keep building that up to get that mirror shine. Again, not cheap. I think it, again, about 15 British pounds, probably in total. So you're probably looking around about 70 to 75 British pounds, and that's with, you know, I got these at a discounted rate. And then obviously you need a decent shoe brush, horsehair brush. I think I got that at a discount for about £6-7. But bearing in mind, you only need to use these products sparingly. So they, obviously, if I was to buy some more shoes, obviously different shoes, different colours, unfortunately. But the Renovated, the Renomat saddle soap, Admiral Gloss neutral, that can be used many times, and I'm told with the horse brushes, the more times you use them, the better they get with time. So it is an investment. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment and any advice you can give me, especially in terms of the Admiral Gloss. I would love some feedback as to why it's been very stubborn. Okay then, thank you.